Raise your hand if you've ever heard of a court reporter before. You have? Okay, a few people. Maybe you guys have seen Law and Order before. Maybe you guys have heard of a courtroom before. So a court reporter is basically somebody who writes down all of the proceedings that go on in a courtroom. They do that using a stenograph machine, which is this machine right here. So if you use a stenograph machine, you are called a stenographer. And working in a courthouse isn't the only place that stenographers work, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So what is a court reporter? Who thinks they can point out the court reporter on the screen? You can just call it out if you think you know the answer. I see some of you pointing. To her, right? Yeah. All right. So this lady right here is our court reporter. If you guys have never been in a courtroom before, this is the judge. This is the person that is presiding over the case. This is the jury. They decide whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty. This is the plaintiff. That's the person accusing the defendant of a crime. That's the plaintiff's attorney trying to convince the jury he's guilty. And that's the defendant's attorney. That's the court officer making sure that everything's okay. And that is the court reporter. This reporter's job is to type what every single person in this room is saying. And I know what some of you are thinking. How is that possible? How could someone do that, right? Well, in order to explain that, we have to talk about what a stenographer is. Because a stenographer, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the term stenographer refers to one who specializes in taking and transcribing dictation in shorthand. Might be a little confusing, right? But basically, back in the day, before we had all this cool technology like laptops and iPhones, if people wanted to take notes, it looked like this. These are different languages of shorthand writing. So I know it looks like chicken scratch, but believe it or not, someone could actually read this. This is how people took notes back in the day. So this is the keyboard I'm sure you're all familiar with, right? We call this the QWERTY keyboard because QWERTY are the first few letters we see on the screen, on the keyboard. That, my friends, is the stenograph keyboard. This is what it looks like for a court reporter who uses this machine. As you can see, there's not even letters on the real machine. That's just what you learn in school, how to basically learn the theory. So, I'll give you guys an example. As you can see, there are some letters on this screen that don't appear, right? Like there's no letter B, there's no letter C. That's because the combination of certain keys determine what comes up on the screen. For example, PB is my letter B. So let's take it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and so on. The combination of certain letters determines, of certain strokes, certain buttons, determine if a letter comes up on the screen, if a sentence comes up. You might see some words right now, right? Like you might see the word top, or you might see stop, but what if your name was Sam, right? Where's the letter M? So the combination of PL is my letter M. So I would write S-A-P-L, Sam, or Tom, T-O-P-L, Tom, or Pam, P-A-P-L, Pam. And there are ways that you go about having letters that are on the left side and on the right side. That's something that's called the initial and the final letters. Because if your name has, for example, one of the letters that's not on the keyboard, we would have to write a combination of other keys to make it come up on the screen. This is an example of what it looks like when a court reporter is writing. This is plain English, and this is the notes that a court reporter writes. You see, when we write, guys, we're not writing everything letter by letter or the way that it's actually spelled. Bless you. We're writing things sound by sound. So this says a court reporter can write this faster than you can read this. And all these letters you see on here are the letters that I would be pressing on this machine at the same time. It would take me way longer to write this on a keyboard than on the stenograph machine. So I know it's a little confusing, but let me tell you guys real quick about what a day in my life is like in a courthouse. So this is the court reporter, right? She's got a starting salary of $100,000. Not bad for a job that you don't even have to go to a 4-year college for. We'll talk about that later. And on top of the money you make every day, you also get paid for the transcripts that you produce. The transcripts are these things that you see right here. It's basically a little booklet of what everybody in the courtroom is saying. So I'm going to sell, me as a court reporter, I'm going to sell the transcripts to the people who need it. The judge, the defendant, and the plaintiff attorney for $3 a page. So if I have 100 pages for $3 a page, that means I'm making $300 from each party. And that means at the end of the day, I'm bringing home $900 from this 100-page transcript on top of the money that I already made for my salary. So as a court reporter, you can hustle a lot if this is what 5 days a week looks like for you, right? So what do we learn about court reporting today, guys? A court reporter writes a verbatim transcript of courtroom proceedings. They work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and they get really cool benefits like health care. If you get sick, you get paid sick days, paid vacation days, you get a pension, which means you get to retire one day and never have to work again. And there's a lot of other cool benefits that come from working in the courthouse. Now, this machine only doesn't limit you to only working in a courthouse. Maybe you guys have heard of a freelancer before, also known as independent contractor. That is somebody who works on their own terms. They get to decide their own schedule. So there are some pros and cons to being a freelancer. Some of the pros are that you get to create your own schedule. You get to be as flexible as you want. You don't want to work Thursday, Friday, you don't have to, because you can be your own boss. But there are some cons that come with that, because if you're not working, that means you're not making money. And that means that you don't get the same benefits as someone who works in the courthouse. And the worst thing that you guys won't have to worry about for a long time is that during tax season, instead of getting money, you have to pay taxes, kind of like what the last guy was talking about. So let's say you don't want to work as a freelance reporter either. You can also be a court reporter. Now, how many times have you guys watched TV and seen like closed captions on the bottom of the screen? You know what I'm talking about? So that is written by a court reporter. That is a person who is basically writing down what everyone is saying. They just don't work in a courthouse. They work at a TV station. And there are other things that that person can do that is not just limited to working at a TV station. This is a student who's hard of hearing, and that is a court reporter writing down what the professor is saying for them. As you can see, court reporters work in classrooms, seminar, performances, and presentations, showing the text that can come up on a device like a laptop or television. You see these guys right here? That's my friend Stanley. That's him at Coachella, which is a famous festival maybe some of you have heard of. So people that go to Coachella, some of them are hard of hearing, and they want to listen to every single word that every artist is saying. So my friend Stanley and his partner, they take turns writing down what every single artist is saying so that even the people that are hard of hearing can enjoy themselves at Coachella just like everyone else. So you don't have to work at just a courthouse if you want to do some amazing things with this machine, guys. So how would you get started in becoming a court reporter? I'm going to tell you guys about something called a trade school. Maybe some of you have heard of something called universities or colleges, SUNYs. These are 4-year colleges or 2-year colleges where you get degrees like associates and bachelors. But a trade school is a school you go to work on a specific trade, like someone who works on HVAC, air conditioning, or a plumber, or a court reporter. We go to a school to learn about this specific trade, just how this machine works, so we don't have to be bothered learning about other subjects that we maybe don't care about and don't want to learn about. So it's an alternative when you finish high school of something you can do with your life and still be successful. You go to school because you need to learn the theory of basically how phonetics works. You need to learn how you're going to write everything. And once you get good enough, you work on your speed building. And eventually, you work on an internship, which is where you start sitting in with professionals. And I put a little asterisk here because this is one of the rare careers where you will get hired while you're still in school. You sometimes hear about kids who go to college and then they have trouble finding a job. Court reporters, they will get hired when they're still in school because there's a big shortage right now. So you never have to worry about not having work. There are some expenses that come with being a court reporter. For example, the machine and the program you use to translate the phonetics into English. But if there's ever been a vacation that you guys have wanted to go on, you have to save up, right? And just like getting through school might be hard, if there was ever a new language you wanted to learn, or if there was ever a new dance you wanted to learn, or a new skill, you have to just practice until you got better. It's the same thing as court reporting. It's not a 4-year program or a 2-year program, because it's what you make of it. It depends how hard you want it. So you got to work hard in life if you want to be successful. But with that being said, this is what my report card looked like when I was in high school, actually. So, yeah, I know. Trade schools, you guys, they sometimes don't look at your report cards. They don't care if you were passing or failing because they're willing to give anyone a chance who's willing to work hard and do a job that not other people want to do or a job that not many people know about. So as you can see, the one class that I was passing when I was in high school was computers. And it was because I was really fast at typing on a computer, so I was passing. So my dad said to me, you know, no college is going to accept you. You're going to have to do something else in life. Why don't you become a court reporter since you're so fast at typing? And I thought to myself, a court reporter, what is that? And I looked into it and I thought, wait, I'm really good at typing. I'm really not good at anything else. So I could really be successful if I just dedicate myself to this. And I did. So if you're ever thinking to yourself, man, I feel like I'm not good at something, I'm not good at stuff, you got to look at what you're good at. There's got to be something you're good at, and you got to just do it to the best of your ability, and it can really take you far in life. So last slide I'll show you guys. These are some cool things that I've done as a court reporter. That's me at the Olympics last summer. It's always been a dream of mine to go, and I finally went. I also went to the World Cup a few years ago. That's my apartment with a bunch of signed jerseys for my favorite players. And me traveling, I love to travel, something I never did until I became a reporter. It's me at the Parthenon. I'm sure you guys have learned about that, right? So yeah, guys, like I said, you got to find out what you're good at in life, and you really have to just work hard at it, and you'll see some good results too. So don't let one bad grade discourage you, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of other options out there for you. So yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. This is the machine. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions? That means I did a good job explaining it all. Thanks.